I was in a car crash and woke up blind. My wife was at my bedside. Our son didn't make it. He died instantly, she sobbed. I believed her for a month until a detective visited. He leaned in and whispered, "Sir, the truth about your son is—" The room smelled of antiseptic and stale flowers. Somewhere a monitor ticked my heartbeat into the air. I couldn't see. The crash had taken that from me. She was there, her hand over mine. Her voice was soft, wet with tears. "Our son didn't make it," she whispered, as though the words themselves might shatter me. "He died instantly." I didn't move. Couldn't. Somewhere deep inside, something caved in, silent, heavy. I lay still for days, weeks. The world became a blur of footsteps, murmurs, hospital air. Then, one afternoon, the detective came. I heard the door click shut, his shoes crossing the floor. He didn't speak at first, just breathed, close. And then, his whisper, "Sir, the truth about your son is, he's alive." Alive. The word lodged in my mind like glass. I felt it cut as it turned. I didn't ask for proof. I didn't demand to know why she lied. I just sat in silence, listening to the detective explain how the boy was in a children's care unit miles away, how my wife had refused him access to me. He told me there was more, but not yet. He wanted me to hear it from someone else. That night, she came in. She kissed my forehead, fed me her lies with the same voice that once read bedtime stories to our son. I asked nothing, but inside, the storm started. Why tell me he was dead? What could she gain from burying a child who still breathed? I replayed her voice, the way she'd touched my hand, careful, rehearsed. A month of darkness had stripped me of sight, but not perception. I decided I wouldn't confront her yet, not until I knew everything. I started small. I memorized the rhythm of her movements, the times she left the house, the hushed calls she made in the hallway when she thought I was sleeping. The detective helped. He brought me documents in Braille, phone logs, even recordings. I read them late at night, fingers tracing out truths she'd never meant me to find. The phone records told me she'd been calling someone, regularly, for years. Not family, not work. The recordings told me about the man, not just any man, my best friend from college. And our son, my son, wasn't mine. The DNA test came last. A quiet envelope slipped under my pillow one morning when she was out. The detective's way of letting me choose the moment. When I ran my fingers across the Braille, I felt my chest tighten. 0% probability. No blood tied me to the boy I'd sung to sleep, taught to ride a bike. I didn't cry. Not then, not ever after that. I waited until dinner. She brought the tray, as always. The clink of cutlery, the faint scent of rosemary. "Eat," she said softly. I slid the folded DNA report across the table toward her. "Read it to me," I said. A pause. The air thickened. She didn't move at first. Then, the rustle of paper. Her breathing quickened. She began to speak, but her voice cracked. She stopped halfway through. I listened to the silence fill the space between us. "I can explain," she whispered. "I know," I replied. My voice was calm, measured. That was all. I didn't need her explanation. Her reaction told me everything the paper hadn't. The next morning, I told her I'd decided to sell the house, move somewhere quieter, heal. She agreed too quickly. I let her think it was her victory. By the end of the week, the detective had arranged everything. The custody papers, the statements, the evidence. I handed her an envelope as she packed. Inside, proof of her lies, the affair, the paternity test, the paperwork that gave full custody of the boy to the man she'd been seeing. She stared at me, horror creeping into her breath. You're giving him away?" "No," I said. I'm giving him to his father." She broke then, sobbed, cursed me, begged. I sat still, hands folded. My blindness made it easier not to see her tears. "I told you I'd heal," I said quietly. "This is how." I left the next day. No note, no goodbye. Just the slow click of the door behind me as the detective led me out. The boy would grow up knowing the truth. Not my truth, his. And she would live every day with the memory of handing him over, knowing she'd orchestrated her own undoing. The crash had taken my sight. She had taken more. But I had taken the one thing she could never reclaim: control. People think blindness makes you helpless. They're wrong. I don't need eyes to see someone for what they are, and I will never see her again.